Hi guys, today it is Q&A time, so I'm going to start by talking about how to get books from publishers, because that is a question that I get asked the most. So I'm out of breath because I've just run up the stairs. That's not good, I'm so unfit. Anyway, to get books from publishers. If I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not a very good kind of person to talk about this because I'm not an expert at it, but because I seem to get quite a lot of books from publishers, I think people seem to think that I've got the skills and the secrets to get them. So I'm going to kind of tell you what I did and how I went about doing it, and kind of the things that you need to think about before you kind of get involved with publishers. So the first thing that I want to say is that most of the time, if publishers are interested in you as a reviewer, they will contact you. I've had quite a lot of publishers contact me directly and ask me if I want to review for them, which is kind of the best way to go about it, because that means that the publisher has found you off their own back and they're genuinely interested in what you have to say and what you kind of what you can give to them and their books. But if you want to go about approaching publishers, which is how I've done it sometimes, it's quite a different experience. Publishers they're not nasty at all, but I think sometimes they are quite selective in who they take on as reviewers and bloggers, mainly because they don't have hundreds of copies of each book to give out and send to bloggers. So you have to kind of have a bit of a background in blogging before you can approach publishers. For me, I started blogging back in 2011. But that was just a personal blog where I uploaded book reviews. I didn't make it kind of a public thing until about 2012, and then I didn't properly start until 2013. And in 2013 I didn't start approaching publishers until I had a good kind of following on Twitter and on my blog and on my Facebook page. And I had started off by reviewing books that I'd borrowed from the library and books that I already owned. And as I kind of reviewed more and more books, I was building up a catalogue of reviews, and I was kind of able to show publishers what I was able or what I was capable of doing for their books. And as it grew, I became more interested in approaching publishers and seeing whether they would be interested in sending me books to review. So how I went about doing this was I spent a lot of time researching the different publishers, because I didn't want to go and contact every single publisher and end up with hundreds of books coming my way, which is eventually kind of what happened. I wanted to kind of target each one individually and find out whether they were interested and what they could offer me as a reviewer. So I went to each different publisher's website and I did a lot of kind of research about the kind of authors that they published, the authors that I liked that they published, what books that were coming out recently that I liked the look of, and what books had previously come out that I had enjoyed reading. And I did a lot of kind of research about the background of the publishing company and what they stood for, and kind of their terms and conditions of just their publishing company. And then I looked into their contact details, and sometimes I found the publicist contact details, and sometimes I just found the publicity like group email, so it would just feel like publicity@publisher.co.uk, but sometimes it would be the publisher's name, like the publicist's name, and then that will go straight to them. So I would write an email, and every single email I wrote to every single publishing house was different. And that's because copying and pasting, I'm not a fan of copying and pasting. I think it shows laziness, and it doesn't show that you actually care. It just shows that you're kind of a bit impatient and you're desperate to read their books and you don't really care about them as a publishing company. So I made sure that I wrote a different email for each of them, and I would always include in the email who I was. I would start the email by introducing who I was and what my blog was, and that I had reviewed a lot of my own books, but I was now finding that I would be interested in reviewing review books for publishers. And then I would discuss about my viewing figures and talk about how many blog hits I got, and that I felt that I had quite a good readership and I had built one up over a period of time. And then I went on to discuss what I liked about the publication house. So I might have said that I like I like what you stand for as a publishing house, or I like that you publish this type of book and other publishing houses don't. And then I would normally say, I've really enjoyed this book and this book and this book that you've published in the past. My favourite authors that you are representing are so, so and so and so. And I'd say, and then I would kind of just bring it to a close and say, I would be honoured if you would consider accepting me, or not accepting me, but kind of taking me on as a reviewer. I understand that you must get lots of requests, and I'm thankful that you've taken the time to read this email. Thank you once again. And then I'd sign it with my name, and then I would put all the links to like my YouTube, my Twitter, my Facebook and my blog. And then you just have to play the waiting game, really. And sometimes the publishers will email back pretty much immediately and say, sure, what's your email address and your house address? Sorry, what's your house number and house address, not email address, because they were emailing me. And they'll say, I'll put you on the mailing list, and so sometimes you just get automatically added and then books will start coming your way. Sometimes you get added to an emailing list, so that means you will always be emailed and asked if you want to review a book before it's sent out to you. And sometimes publishers just don't get back in contact. I've had quite a few where I haven't had a reply from the publisher. Sometimes that could be because they're just not interested, sometimes it could be because my email's gone straight into spam, and sometimes it could just be that, they're not impressed by the way that I've worded the email, and that's fine, because they are publishers and they don't have to give, that's the thing, they don't have to give me books. And that's the thing to remember, that publishers don't have, you're not, as a blogger, you don't have the right to have publishers send you books. You can inquire and ask if they would like to, but you can't demand that they send them to you, because that's just really rude. But yeah, that's kind of how I managed to get books from publishers. I just did a lot of research before I contacted them. I contacted them and wrote very polite and friendly emails, and quite long emails as well, not just, hi, I'd like to review your books, can you send me some, thank you. It was a really kind of detailed email about what I liked about the publisher, what books they publish I liked, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, then you just have to wait and see whether any of them get back to you. And like I said in the beginning, sometimes publishers will actually get in contact with you. So if you've reviewed a book and you tag them in the tweet or something, they might reply to you and say, thank you so much, what's your email address? And they might email you and say, thank you so much for the review of this book, we have this other book, would you like to review this one? And it kind of can spiral from there and kind of snowball into something more, and you become more of a solid reviewer in their community. So yeah, it's not a difficult thing to do, but it's not something that you can do quickly. And it's important to remember that you are asking them to do you a favour, really. I mean, obviously you're doing them a favour by reviewing the books, but they are doing you the favour by sending you the book for free for you to read and enjoy, as at your own leisure. So yes, that is how to go about getting books from publishers, and I hope that's helped. If it hasn't, then please let me know what other information you want, but that's how I did it. So now I'm going to quickly move on to some YouTube questions. I think I have about 4 or 5. So the first question is from Izzy E, and she says, how many books do you have on your shelf? Who is your favourite booktuber? What are some of your fave books and series? And yeah, that's all of her questions. So there's 3 questions there. So the first question is, how many books do you have on your shelf? Now, I did actually count the books on my shelf, and on this shelf I actually have over 200, and that includes all the books that are kind of sitting on top of it and the books that are kind of stacked like this. So I do have over 200 books on this shelf. My TBR pile, which is just here, if I turn the camera, and you might be able to see it. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Yep, that is probably about 200 books there as well. And then on my bookcase I have at the bottom of my stairs, I'd say there's probably more 500 books on there. So I'm pretty sure I have about 1,000 books in total, which is a lot of books, if I'm honest. And I haven't read a lot of them. I'd say that I've probably read about 25% of them, which is really bad, but yeah, I think I have about 1,000 books in total. Who is my favourite booktuber? Now that's a really difficult question, because I do have quite a lot of favourite booktubers. I love watching Ben from Benjamin of Tomes. He is just fantastic, and he's so funny and so enthusiastic about books. It's just brilliant. I also love watching Jessie the Reader, because he is exactly the same, so passionate about everything. I also like watching Cassidy and Mercy, she's really good as well. There are so many that I love watching, so I will leave all of their links in the description box below, so you can go and check them out and kind of see what they're about. But yeah, my favourite one, the one I get most excited about, is Ben. I just love Ben. And then, what are some of your favourite books and series? That is a really good question. Some of my favourite books, I think I probably have about 3 favourite books. They are The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, cliche I know, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, again cliche I know, and the other book I really love and I've really fallen in love with recently is Harry Potter, and I'm really loving that series so far, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna, you know, like, enjoy the whole of the series. But I loved the first book in that series. It is just such kind of, it is the opening door to a whole new world of amazingness, and I am so loving it at the moment. And I've just finished the third book, so I'm on to the fourth soon. But yeah, I would definitely say that Harry Potter is one of my favourite series, and my favourite books are Fault in Our Stars and Perks of Being a Wallflower. So I hope that's answered your question, Izzy, and I hope they are satisfactory answers. The next question is from Marilyn, the lovely Marilyn. She blogs, and I will leave her link below. The first question that she has asked are there any books you've read or you're planning on reading more than once? Yes, I have read quite a few books more than once. Unfortunately, because now I'm a blogger, I don't really have the time to reread a lot of books, purely because I have so much time. I have so many other books to read and not enough time. But a couple of books I have reread over and over again are Tethers by Jack Roxall, which is on my shelf here. I really, really love this book, and it's a nice kind of short book as well, so you can reread it multiple times. And I just love the descriptions and the characters and kind of the storyline. It's not predictable, and it's not it's just one of those books that you can read and reread and still be completely amazed by what happens all over again and still be surprised. So I really love that about this book. So yes, that's definitely a book that I've read more than once. I've also read The Fault in Our Stars more than once. I just recently reread that and I fell in love with it so much. But apart from that, I wouldn't say that I've really reread many books at all, actually. They're the two most recent that I can really remember, like, making a definite choice to reread them. But looking at my shelf, I can't really think of any others that I have purposely reread recently. So yeah, they are kind of the two books that I definitely have reread and planning on reading more than once. I definitely want to read more of John Green's books more than once, so I'm hoping to get around to reading those soon. And I also want to reread a book called Lucas by Kevin Brooks, because I adored that book. And I also want to get around to rereading The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey in time for the sequel that comes out later this year. So they're two books, or three books, that I really want to read again. The next question Marianne has is, have you got any tips for bloggers to get more followers / readers, and how do you keep them interested? This is a good question. I get this question quite a lot as well, actually. How can I go about getting more viewers to my blog? And again, I don't profess to be an expert at this at all, but what I found that really helps is getting a very big social media presence. Having a Twitter account, but when I say have a Twitter account, I mean a Twitter account dedicated to your blog. I have two separate Twitter accounts, one my personal one and then my blogging one, and I just find that really helps for me to kind of separate the two biggest parts of my life, me and my blogging. And my blogging one has everything to do with my blogging and all the links to my blogs, and that's the one I kind of interact with authors and publishers and readers with. And then my personal one is just kind of more of a personal thing, and it's got more of my personal opinions and all those kinds of things. And I think that really helps to kind of have people seeing you as a presence on social media. And also having a Facebook page is really good as well, because some people don't have Twitter, and I don't get a lot of traffic through my Facebook page, but I have asked recently if people you know, use my Facebook page and it's helpful, and a couple of people said that they do use it because they can't see Twitter, so they don't know when I've posted on my blog. So that's kind of really helpful info to have, that they do, you know, people do care about Facebook. So yeah, Twitter, Facebook, have a Pinterest board perhaps. Blog Loving is a really great website, I'll leave the link to that below. And that is like a database of blogs, and then you can gain a lot of readers through that, and a lot of bloggers will kind of connect with you on that. Maybe perhaps YouTube as well. I don't think a lot of people are that interested in YouTube because, you know, it's quite difficult and there's a lot of time you have to dedicate to it. But yeah, YouTube is a great one to get, you can kind of then be yourself on camera, you can get across things, and that can increase your readership as well. But I think the main thing is just be yourself and blog about what you want to blog about, and blog about what you love, and you will find that readers who are interested and love the same things as you will gravitate towards you automatically. And how to keep them interested as well, just keep being you and keep doing things that you like, and perhaps, you know, do a special month every so often, or host some giveaways, or kind of get them involved in different blog posts. And I think it's just constantly coming up with new ideas and stimulus to keep your blog looking a bit fresh and new and not becoming too static and stale. But again, I think when it comes to blogs, as long as you are out there and you are showing people that you exist, then the readers will come to you and they will you will find that it's a bit of a snowball effect as well. As soon as you get kind of like a small group of readers, you'll start to get a bigger and bigger and bigger group. And it might slow down over time, but then you have periods where it really speeds up. And again, it's just kind of learning about how to kind of interact on social media in the most effective way. And one of the best ways to do it as well is to do hashtags. If you're writing a review, you might hashtag new review or hashtag book blogger or hashtag book or something like that, and then you will find that quite a lot of people come because they search for, you know, book blogger hashtags and things like that. So yeah, just I think the most important thing is social media at this stage. There's not really a lot you can do apart from kind of gather them on social media. So yeah, definitely have a good social media presence. And the last question is, have you ever accepted a review request for a book that you ended up not liking at all and you didn't really want to finish it? If so, how did you approach the author? Yes, this has happened to me quite a few times. The problem is with being a reviewer is that you can love the sound of a book, but you might not actually enjoy it when you read it, and then it becomes really awkward because you've made a commitment to the author that you will read and review the book. Sometimes I have just gone ahead and reviewed the book anyway and written a review that hasn't been completely negative, but it is fair and kind of is constructive feedback, and they seem to go down quite well. The author says thank you and they understand that I didn't quite enjoy it. But if I really didn't enjoy a book and I wasn't going to publish a review, then I would email the publisher or the author and just say that I didn't really get on with the book at all, and I really apologise for that, and I wouldn't be able to write a review that would be helpful to the author or the publisher. And if there's any other way that I could promote the book, then I'd be happy to do that. And that has happened to me recently because I was reading a book and I was part of the blog tour for it, and I got kind of like 90 pages into this book and I just was really struggling, and there was nothing that was compelling me to continue reading, and I just felt that I didn't want to waste my time reading a book when I had so many others to read. So I just emailed the publisher and I said that I wasn't really enjoying the book, and I was part of the blog tour and I was supposed to be reviewing, but was there perhaps anything else I could do instead? And she was more than happy to let me do a Q&A instead, which is really helpful. And the thing is, I think with publishers, as long as you're honest, and authors as well, as long as you're honest and you say that you didn't enjoy it, then they won't be nasty to you. They won't, hate you or anything, because as an author it's a kind of like a unwritten rule that not everyone's going to like your work, and you have to be polite to everybody who reads it, and you can't be nasty just because someone didn't enjoy your book. That's just part and parcel of being an author. So I think as long as you're honest and you just say that you weren't enjoying it, then they will not have a problem with that, and they will just say, thank you for trying to read it, and yeah, I don't think they will be nasty at all, and if they are, then that's just not nice at all. And then the last question is from Anna, and she says, I read to children with special educational needs, mostly autistic spectrum disorder and dyslexia, and I wondered if you have done any reading with kids yet, and if so, how are you finding it? Thank you, Anna, for your question. As you may know if you've been watching my videos, I have been volunteering with Beanstalk, which is a reading charity that goes into primary schools and helps children with their reading. I haven't actually had the chance to do that yet, but I am actually today going into the school for my first placement, which means I'm meeting the head teacher and I'm meeting with my Beanstalk reading kind of mentor, and we're going to have a quick chat and a meeting to kind of discuss what the school are interested in from me, and what kind of days they want me to go in and work with them. So I'm really looking forward to that, and that's happening this morning. So once I have done that meeting, I will then be able to kind of get back to you on that question and tell you how it's going. But I haven't had much experience, but I have learnt quite a lot of the practice behind it, and I think the main thing that we have been learning is that we don't want to encourage children to read books that are part of their curriculum. That's a really big kind of thing about Beanstalk, is that we don't let the children read their classroom books. We give them the option to read any book that they want to read and play any word game that they want to play, or just do something that is encouraging them to like books. And one of the things I find as well is that reading to children is really great, because even if the child isn't reading themselves, they are learning about the pleasures of a story and learning and listening to new words. And I think that's a really good tip if you've got someone who's struggling to read. By you reading to them and making a book familiar to them, the more that you read it with them, then the more familiar they become with the words and the way things look and sound, and you can kind of work on getting them to read some to you and you reading some. And sometimes also plays can be really good, really short 2-people plays, because that then means that the child is not left on their own and is expected to read, because you're both interacting and both taking half, you're both sharing and doing half each. So I think it's kind of just getting them involved and not making them feel as though they are under pressure to read all by themselves. It's kind of helping them and showing them that you can read to them if you want them to, and all those kinds of things. So yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest kind of thing that I've learned, is that it's about sharing the kind of love of reading. It's not about getting them to read to you, it's about sharing the experience and sharing the love of reading. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Anna. Thank you so much for your question. And I think that's everything. There was just a lot of other comments on that video about Benedict Cumberbatch and Harry Potter, so thank you guys for commenting if you did, and thank you for asking a question. I hope this has been a helpful video and you have enjoyed listening to my rambling about books. I will do another question and answer in the future if you're interested. If you are, then leave some comments down below with some questions and I will make sure I answer those in the next video. So yeah, thanks for watching this video guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!